Do this shit until they murder me.
Greetings, YouTube viewers. VegasBoost, Lewis here, back with another short video for you guys. More like I wanted to get something off my chest. Something about the local car scene here in Las Vegas that has been bugging me for a little bit. I actually made a Facebook post about this a little bit ago, but I'll reiterate for you guys, and I want to hear people's opinions, and I think that the YouTube crowd is going to be a good platform to hash it out. So my car has never been painted, has never had any body work or anything like that. So I take it out to meets because, you know, I like the scene here. I want to go out and meet new people and meet new groups and hang out with, you know, different folks. So I go, and this was a couple months ago. I think the last time this particular incident happened was early December. So I go out there, you know, one of the local meets, a big meet. There was about 400 cars at this meet. A group of individuals come up and they're like, is this your car? And, you know, yeah, it's the usual. And then after you look it over, they're like, who did the work? And I said, well, me. You know, I did all of it except for some of the welding and blah, blah, blah. And then they just start to tear it apart. There was like 5 or 6 people in this group. And basically they were like, oh, it's got dents everywhere. The paint has swirls. Have you never had it painted? Why would you even bring out a car like this? And then they look at, and I was like, yeah, you know, it's been, I even say it myself. The car looks like crap. The car's never had any work done. I care more about the brake suspension, the motor, the way it performs rather than how it looks. So they then go into the engine bay and they start to take that up. They start to pick that apart. That's where it got to me. That's where they were like, oh, what? This isn't a build. You shouldn't even be out here with this right now. This looks unfinished. That's the word that one of the guys kept saying. And one of the ladies, of course. They just kept saying, it looks unfinished. It looks like you still have work to do. So you did all the work. Why didn't you just pay somebody to do it? There are a lot of shops in Vegas that can do this work for you, and it'll look much, much better. Which I agree, there's a lot of shops out here that do really, really good work, but then I like doing my own work. 1, because it saves me money. 2, because I like learning. Nobody knows everything, and I just like doing the work. It's something I've always enjoyed. It's sort of a stress reliever. Even though sometimes I want to kill this thing. Everybody knows what I mean. You love it and you hate it at the same time sometimes. So, so that really got to me. They just kept taking apart the engine bay, like looking at my fittings, looking at my lines, and they were just like, oh, this could have been ran better, blah, blah, blah. So then I was like, I kept it under control. I didn't lash out or anything. And I was like, oh, you know, that's your opinion. You know, I worked really hard on this. This is all that really matters to me is the engine bay, how it looks, all that. So then I was like, what do you drive? And then I went over to their vehicles and they had, you know, an array of cars. And I went over and they all had pretty paint jobs, pretty wheels. All of them were on coilovers, all of this fancy stuff, racing seats and detached steering wheels. And then I looked at the bay and it was very pretty. And then I asked, oh, okay, so this is some good work. Did you do it? They're like, oh, no, we don't do that. So I asked, what do you mean, why? Why don't you do that? And they said, well, no, we don't have time. I don't have time for that. One guy in particular he just couldn't be bothered. He was like, no, I don't have time for that. I just let other people do the work for me. I just pay them. And I'm like, okay, well, you know, there's some people like that. I don't fault you for that. But then I was like, okay, so what's done to it? Can you explain what's into the build? Like particularly the motor, because that's all I really care about. To be honest, I mean, I look at cars and they be nice and fancy, and I'm like, that looks awesome. But then you pop the engine bay and it looks like, whoa, what's happening here? Like, oh no, I haven't done anything to it. And then, you know, some people just don't care about that portion. But to me, that's all I am interested in. Not to knock anybody else's, you know, likes and dislikes and preferences and stuff like that. So anyway, the guy pulls out a business card. He couldn't tell me what was done to it. He just pulls out a business card from the person who built it. And he flips it over and he just starts just naming parts. And he like literally reading them, and I'm like, okay, so what? Okay, so that's cool. Who tuned the car? And he's like, oh yeah. And then he pulls out another card and said, he tuned it. And I'm like, okay, so how much power does it make? And then he flipped it over and he was like, oh, it makes blah blah blah. And I was like, that was starting to get to me more and more. I was like, okay. So anyways, and then I go over to one of the other vehicles. This one was owned by a lady, a girl, a young lady, and she had nothing done. She was literally like, I just have wheels and that's it. Like she had like a steering wheel cover, and she was like, they kept bragging mostly about how many followers they have on Instagram and on Facebook and all that stuff and Twitter. And I was just like, they had all their decals on their car, had all their handles and stuff. And I was just like, then when they looked at mine, they were like, oh, you have a channel. Oh, you probably don't have that many viewers. I'm like, I don't. I'm not doing this for like to get, 1 million viewers now. Like, I don't, look, I'm just doing this so I can document the build for my buddies, for the local group. I'm not doing this to make money, obviously. So they kept bragging about how many they have, and then they looked up my YouTube channel and saw, oh, you only have 90 some odd subscribers. Oh, you're not an influencer. And I'm like, and at this point I had to walk away. I was like, it's good to meet you. I'm leaving. I went back to my car. I was pretty annoyed at the time, so I went home. Hold on. Dropped the mic. So I went home, and then about a week later, I went to another meet at a different location, a different group that puts it on. And other people were, again, doing the same. We're looking at the car again. And I don't normally stand by the car when I'm at meets. I just kind of walk around. I want to look at cars. But at this point, I didn't know anybody there, and none of my buddies could make it. So I was like, I'm just going to sit here for a little bit. And then if another interesting car comes, then I'll go look at it. And then again, it happened again. There was a group of different individuals, that came over and started just tearing up the car. Like, what, the wheel, they had like a little blemish on the wheel, like on the side of it, and I've never seen it. And they were like looking at the car with like lights all over, like they were calling out my panel gaps and like the scratches and blah blah blah. And I was like, oh, here we go again. So I was like, okay, I gotta calm down. I don't want to get in their face, and I don't like to be confrontational until I follow Patrick Swayze. Be nice until it's time not to be nice. Everybody knows Roadhouse rules. And then they went back to the engine bay and did it again, and that's where I was like, okay, enough. So I was like, okay, let me see what you've done. And I started to get a little confrontational, and I said, what have you done? Let me see what your build consists of. I go over to their car. This man had a new WRX STI that was completely bone stock, but with everything in the engine bay was painted to look really nice, with nice wheels, and it was on bags. And I said, okay, that's nice. What have you done to the car besides the wheels and suspension? He goes, oh, nothing. There's a Canon air filter, this, just stuff that you would do when you're 16 years old. So I was like, how old are you? Turns out he was 17 years old. And I was like, okay, so you don't know what it's like to build something with your own two hands, to have it start up, and then you just feel that joy, that accomplishment, that feeling of accomplishment you get when you make something and it works. Granted, what if it breaks down, blah, blah, blah. The feeling is always there. That's something that I love. I know most of you guys that do it yourself all know what I'm talking about. And that's something that this kid clearly did not understand or has ever felt before. Because he was so young. I mean, 17 years old. When I was 17, that's when I got in the MR2 game. I'm 34 now. Half my life I've been in this game, and I've owned MR2s. I've had other cars. I've had a Supra. I've had an RX. But I love the MR2 platform. This is my favorite car. So we kept discussing it, and then we kind of drew a crowd a little bit, and I was actually pretty alleviated that more people were like siding, not necessarily siding with me, but they could see my point of view. They were like, I see where he's coming from. I know what he's talking. I built my car, and then everybody started getting on the conversation, and then we kind of hashed it out. And then I didn't want him to make him feel attacked. So I said, look, it's okay, but I don't need you to attack my car like that, because you just bought your car at a dealership a month ago. And I guessed, and he was like, how'd you know? And I'm like, what do you mean? He's like, I did buy my car a month ago. I'm like, oh my God. Anyways, I didn't want him to feel attacked, so I was like, look, dude, just do you, but don't attack people's cars like that. Don't just come up and be like, what? Why isn't this like this? I'm like, I didn't build it for you. Nobody builds their cars for other people. Unless you are like that, God help you. I don't know why you'd be doing something like that. But I build my cars for my personal enjoyment. I don't build it so other people can be like, oh, hey, this is awesome. Look at this. Shut up. I build it for myself. And I try to explain it to him. I was like, look, I'm not telling you to F off. I'm not telling you, just understand that you're really young and you're in this scene. It can be brutal out here. It's not like it was in the early 2000s where everybody was more together, like Hot Import Nights back in those days where everybody was like, well, no matter what you had, people were like, oh, there's a rice there, there's a muscle, whatever. But it wasn't like, oh no, we can't talk to them because of vice versa, whatever. So he kind of understood, and I was like, look, if you ever want to hang out and you actually want to do something, you actually want to go out and actually test our cars, you want to go to the track, you want to hang out with the local Vegas MR2 group, give me a shout. I gave him my Facebook and my Instagram handle. I was like, look, hit me up if you actually want to get together and do something. And that's how I left it. And then it kind of, like I said, it drew a big crowd. So we were starting to dissipate. But, you know, I met a lot of new people that actually were like-minded. So I made some new friends. And I wanted to put this out there because I had some pretty good response on my Facebook, and when I posted a story like this, and I wanted to see what you guys think. Like, how you build your cars because you want that feeling of accomplishment, or do you build it for other people? Do you just go, I want to build this so I can go, so I can be featured on Jay Leno's Garage or something like that, or you know what I mean? I don't do that. If that happens with the car, if it ever gets featured on something, that's great, freaking awesome. I would love it. But I'm building it because, you know, it's fun to drive, and it's Vegas, and the car scene is huge here, and everybody who's from here knows that every day of the week there is a meet somewhere. If you haven't checked, there's always a meet somewhere in this town. Always. Doesn't matter where it's at. It can be at a store, a parking lot, blah blah blah. So, anyways, let me know what you guys think down in the comments, or message me. Those I know that have my Instagram handle. I actually have my Instagram handle down below in the description. But let me know what you think. I'm really curious to see what the crowd on YouTube thinks. I'm hoping that there's a lot of do-it-yourselfers out there that don't share that mindset. So with that, I'm out of here, and y'all have a good one. Peace.